And now I know you're in Nashville, right? So that French word might be a little difficult even for the
Right.
developer, right?
Right.
So
For sure. For sure.
exactly, exactly. Full disclosure, I spent many of my formative years growing up in the Nashville area in Middle Tennessee, so I understand all of that.
For
So
sure.
that takes us further into communication. So I receive your monthly e-newsletter that's called Nashville Notes, and it really stands out. So tell me, who do you send this newsletter to? What's your ideal audience for this?
Yeah, thank you. We really are intentional about our National Notes newsletter, and we are very respectful that everybody gets a lot of emails. We're intentional in two capacities. It's only twice a month, and it's specifically to our agent network. Our agent network, as of the end of this past year in 2021, was our second biggest lead source. And prior to the pandemic, that was not necessarily the case. And so we've really put a lot of time, effort, and energy of staying into deeply into our agent network and relationship and calling people and staying in touch and actually caring about their practice, what they're doing, what they're working on, what their priorities are, and staying in touch and staying top of mind, and that's one of the ways we do it. It's a twice a month thing, and it's specifically to agents because I was seeing all of our friends at events and like, oh my gosh, we should stay in touch. It's so good to see you and all these catch ups. And so we've been much more intentional and put time in it every single day to deepen those relationships, but also to nurture the ones that we didn't get to in the 14 days or 30 days prior.
Sure, sure. And the interesting thing is that I didn't realize until I really dug down to the fine print that it was just for other real estate professionals,
Right.
right? I thought that this was something that was going to your entire sphere of influence. So, do you have regular communication that you send to your clients or your sphere of influence that's different than this?
We do. And both of them are privately and individually curated. And I could talk about the production process because we've really refined it over the years.
Please do.
And so we do. To answer your question, we have two completely different databases, two completely different strategies, marketing touch points throughout the year, from calls and emails and videos. So Nashville Notes is our agent network newsletter, and we'd love to have anyone join that and be a part of it. We promise to take good care of your email address and not take advantage of it, and stay in touch. And the intent is to add and share great things that we're seeing and sharing, and it can be as casual as a really great new pen that we're really enjoying working with, or a great piece of content that we had great success with that we shared with our sphere and with our database, or something we're excited about, or a notable thing in our market that might be a good point to highlight in your market and make it just grow, right? I mean, that's what we want to see. There's a lot of information out there, and that's our intent, is to be sharing cool things that we've seen, conversations we've had. And again, the intent is we're very intentional about going through and going, what would we want to hear? What would I actually take time and listen to and connect with, and really follow up? So we're very that sounds really a whole lot of hubris in that comment, and I didn't mean it that way, but I am intentional about making it about the agent and what's valuable and something that they can take and apply and continue to grow their practice.
Well, and you can know that I read it, right? And so
Sure.
I get a fair amount of email, particularly from other agents,
Right.
and I often get those automated email newsletters from about a dozen or more agents on the same day that it comes out every month. And so originality is something that really stands out, and that's absolutely evident.
Mm.
So you mentioned that you spend time every day working on this. So who actually builds the newsletter? Tell me about that.
We have a couple of things that we do there, and the way we do it is we plan both of this. We have and then our client email list is called Bowtie Bullets, which is Bowtie is part of our brand, and we use that. And then the Nashville notes thing is just a fun. I like, playing with the letters and the words and making it all work, right? Nashville notes and bow tie bullets, and it's different content, right? It's different content for different people, so you can't make sure that it's got to be custom. It's got to have some value. It's got to have some. So what we do, the way we create it, is we plan all of them for the month at one time. And so we have time slots open. We're also very specific that there's lots of value, both in bow tie bullets and in Nashville notes. And it's not just, hey, send me all your referrals in Nashville.
Mhm.
For sure, do that. But also, there's really great content that's going to help you, that's interesting, that's going to give great value to you and your practice, and that you can in turn take to your clients. And that's where the real differentiator stands out. So we're really thoughtful throughout all of the content that we take in, and we save it. So I have a file that I actually go through and save things to as I'm going through the social world. I've actually started a tradition this month, because I'm not quite up to enough days to call it a habit. So it's a tradition at the moment, that I am going through and putting timers when I'm specifically like on Twitter. And so if I'm on Twitter, I'm going to go look for content that I want to share. I'll put a timer on first, go in there, and then I'll get sucked into, the Twitter sphere. And then
That's pretty smart.
right, because otherwise, you get going and you're like, what am I doing? And often, as you learn in various, practices, your mind wanders, and then all of a sudden you're like, let's pull that back, and oh, the alarm went off. Okay, I need 3 more minutes. I didn't get enough. And so that's where we find a lot of our content, and then we create it. We also look ahead as we're looking at it in a monthly way about what can we connect with. One of my favorites of all time was we shared, on opening day of the baseball season, we talked about the different things that you could buy in various markets around, ballparks as baseball was opening. And that was really unique, talking about things and, all over the country. And it was also valuable because we could talk about our partners that are in those markets and say, so we got to highlight 3 or 4 or 5 people throughout that, and the homes that people, when the Oscars are out, right? We'd be like, oh, here's the homes that the Oscar nominees have or live in or just bought or just sold. And we're always, I'll say this, I think this is important to say, like, we're very discreet and private and professional, but we also will share things that those people choose to let be out there. We have plenty of people that want great discretion when they're doing and buying business here in town, and there's plenty that don't, that say no, put Superman on there, and like, I bought a house from Superman, and they're like, really, it's really Superman, and you're like, it's really Superman, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to sell it to Superman. So
So,
anyway,
and just for some of our listeners that may be taking that quite literally, it's not actually Superman, right?
it was not
This was a figure of speech.
figure of speech,
Okay,
and a figure of
because
speech
you'll get the phone call.
for Superman.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that is not that individual. I can tell you that, but I can tell you that there are several that we've signed, and we've talked about this previously. That there's plenty of times you get it where you're complete and total discretion, right? How to do it, and we've taught clients how to do it. And so, you want absolute anonymity? Here's how you do it. Here's how we set it up. But we got to start in the beginning.
yeah,
And then we ask that. This is kind of a summation of the past 2 questions. Like, what do we do? We ask that in the beginning. How private do you want this? And we have folks that live in Nashville that no one knows, people that were quite busy, in the past few weeks, and weekends, and no one knows they live here,
right.
completely off the grid. And that's on purpose. And, that's cool. And it stinks that we can't talk about that, but I signed a lot of stuff that says I can't. So,
Right,
so
right,
we
right.
won't. But then there's been plenty that pop up and go, yeah, well, people are going to recognize this name. Clark Kent, you're going to know is Superman, and the fictional character, not the actual actors. And so you just go, okay, well, do you want to? And some of them are absolutely comfortable with it.
Yep.
So it's quite interesting. I think that's a key piece back to that prior comment, but we've digressed from the whole newsletter piece. We curate it individually, and we do it in a monthly way, and we look at the opportunities of what can we talk about that's interesting. And that's where it really comes from. And we're very intentional about the volume of it. It's a 4 to 5, 4 to 1, 5 to 1 ratio. Because if you're just sending me stuff about something in California and to Nashville, like that's great, and I'm glad to know. And I need more than that because I don't have that buyer today. We need to go deeper than that.
Sure,
So that's
sure.
our intent with how we have curated it, and it's been cool because you can go along in the week and you can see, okay, we needed a filler here. That's a good one for this month, and then that's why there's a flow to it over
I
time.
think I think that's so important, and I do this a lot. Is file away those notes, have some sort of system where when you see something interesting, you file it away so that when it's time to actually produce a newsletter or a blog or whatever it is, you're not trying to come up with material from scratch. So that's a great tip, a takeaway for our listeners. And let me ask one other tactical
For sure.
questions, and then I'll move us forward. I noticed that you're using Mailchimp for the distribution. And so are you using the free version or the upgraded paid version?
So we upgraded. We started with, and listen, I'll say this: I am a firm believer in the best thing you can do is something. Do something, right? I mean, because we can make it perfect. And it's always evolving, right? We're always wanting to evolve to be the best that it can possibly be. And we started with the free version, and with our real focus on this and our agent population and our own, we needed it for the capacity, but also to be able to continue to add to it, as well as check in as we see when people choose to unsubscribe and whatnot, which is fine. We have a set time to look at those too, because that's a huge distraction for
Sure,
me, right?
sure.
That it's a squirrel, and you're like, what is that? Oh my gosh, why? My best friend in third grade unsubscribed. Why? And they were like, because I got in trouble at work. Like, it's cool. I moved it to my private one. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I mean, that happens, right? And so
Yes,
we
yes,
have a
yes,
time
yes.
that the team and I absolutely review and audit those to be intentional, and whether or not there's a follow up or whether there's something that we've done or what have you. It's been a really nice thing. So
That's a very deep take on it, because I think most of us have the tendency to send it and forget it and not really utilize the back end data.